What up, guys? Welcome to Bleav in Rams, presented by FanDuel. You know me, Erin Coscarelli, joined alongside my co-host, Tyler Dragon of USA Today, to talk what might be the biggest game, best game, most important game, certainly for the division in the NFC West, a Week 11 showdown against those Seahawks. And of course, no one better to talk some smack to is somebody who knows all too well about the enemy. All-Pro Seahawks linebacker, three-time Pro Bowler and co-host of the All Day Pod, Lofa Tatupu. Lofa, thank you for joining us. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine, thank you. And
Yeah.
fight on to everybody out
Yeah.
there. Sorry, Tyler, I had to do it.
I know.
It's great to have you on, Lofa, but I'm starting to have a little bit of bone to pick with Erin because this is like the third or fourth time we've had a Trojan on this show, and I feel like I'm getting ganged up on this Bleav in Rams podcast. So I'm gonna have to call up Maurice Jones-Drew, get him on the podcast so we can get some Bruin love.
There we go.
Bleav in Rams podcast too.
Listen, they played the Jags already, so sorry about it, Tyler. You are outnumbered, but we do have something in common. Tyler and I, of course, have been talking about the Rams all season long, and boy, what a journey the Rams have been on. But you guys as well over there in Seattle because of just your own sort of elements of resilience. Can you just sort of take us up to speed of where you guys are right now, as of course the Rams taking on the Seahawks first game? They still have to take on each other a second time, but what are we getting ourselves into if you're a Rams fan?
I think these are two of the best, definitely in the NFC, but possibly the NFL. These are definitely legitimate Super Bowl contenders, and just happen to be in the same division, right? And haven't got to see as much of the Rams as I'd like to, but looking forward to this matchup. But with the Hawks, we've cruised pretty much through the schedule. The two losses, I mean, last second. We had the game like versus the Niners at home, the first one, and the Bucks, just a shootout. Was very impressed because this is a defensive team, but I was very impressed with Sam Darnold and how he dueled it out with Mayfield, old Carolina, Panthers teammates, and so it's good to see them doing well. But this offense is catching strides, and just if we can get some more consistency running the ball, I think we're going to see a lot more lopsided wins.
So you mentioned Sam Darnold. I'm interested in your thoughts because the last time we saw him play the Rams in Glendale, Arizona, he was a member of the Minnesota Vikings. I was there, and it was a terrible performance by him. And so this is the first time he's playing the Rams since that performance. How do you think he's going to fare? And what are your initial thoughts of Darnold in his first season with Seattle?
I mean, I've been incredibly impressed with him. I do recall the game you're talking about. It was kind of on the heels of that Lions for the division the week before that, just the 1 and the 6 seed, right? And it was kind of two rough outings, right? And they were both very big games. One for playoff seeding, the other in the playoffs. So those were a little cause for concern about the big game. How do you play in the big game? But he's pretty much calmed everyone's nerves up here. Even because I'm saying we have two great running backs. There's been a little inconsistency in the ground game. Haven't got it going as much as we'd like, but it's really where we've been throwing to open up the run. Just like last week. I think you guys know who JSN is. If not, you might want to double cover him. That guy is that good. But I know you got some good receivers of your own, but very impressed with Sam. But this will be kind of one of those tests, right? Just see how, like, if it comes down to him and, outdoing Stafford, there many people do that. So, and he's playing some MVP caliber ball up there. And so I look forward to that matchup.
Just to sort of piggyback on what Tyler said, last time they faced Sam Darnold Much like this week, there's a lot on the line. Whoever wins this game claims the first in the division. They get, for the next remaining however weeks until whoever. But again, this division, it's a tight race as it was last year. And it just feels like there's a lot on the line. Are you surprised at all that you're seeing the success out of the Seahawks based on what you saw from them last week? And what do you think the biggest change is with regards to, is it Darnold? Is it the coaching staff? What do you think it is that's made this team so dominant this season?
I'm not surprised. Like McDonald, he's got a terrific track record, his defense continually gets stronger. Once you lay the foundation, whether it was Michigan, Baltimore, where they did some historic things, and then you come over here last year, just unbelievable. 10 wins as the youngest head coach who put the staff together at the latest possible, the last hour. So incredibly impressed with him and how it's just a proven record, right? Once, twice, that's a coincidence. 3 times, that's a pattern. And this is the 3rd time he's gone to a new city and done it. So very impressed. And it's that defense. I don't know if there is another D line as, scary as ours, it's yours, to be honest, right? You guys continue. And that's even after losing Aaron Donald, right?
Isn't that crazy, Lofa? When you think about it, you see this team and, Byron Young, you've got great guys, even, that were sort of underdogs in the secondary. How this defense has patched together since losing Donald, Shula getting named the DC in LA. Are you, as a defensive guy, are you impressed? What do you think of it?
I mean, I love what they did in the draft. They went out and got Fisk, they got Verse, Turner the year before, Young, like you said, Johnson. Like you weren't going to replace an Aaron Donald with one guy. Like, there's him, JJ Watt, and Lawrence Taylor, the only 3-time MVPs at defense. So, it's we're talking about once in several generations type of players. So they manufactured it with a bunch of weapons, and they hit on every single one of those picks. Just for where some of those guys were taken, fifth round a little later, but they got Verse in the first, and then they got Fisk, his running mate over at Florida State. It's just, and I mean, as great as Verse is, I thought Fisk deserved a little more recognition with what he had 7 or 8 sacks last year, right? But I'm sure if I looked at the film, they were probably double teaming Verse quite a bit. He's a special talent. So it's that's really what I look forward to is, the trenches this week. As great as all these receivers, right? You got Adams, you got Nakua, you got JSN, Kupp. That's fun, right? It's exciting. But the game, it starts and it's one up front, and so I look forward to that matchup both when we're on the field, when you guys, the defenses are on the field.
Yeah, speaking of up front, I know you said the running game has not gotten off the ground for the Seahawks. I'm interested in your thoughts of why that is, because Seahawks have 2 really good running backs in Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, a Bruin, I might add. And how difficult will it be going up against this Rams defense for the Seahawks running game to get going?
I mean, we haven't found a whole lot of running room, as it is. The carries, this is what I'm impressed with Kubiak. He's still, last week it must have been like 15 or 16 apiece, like so 30 rush. I think at one point, I think Donald was like 11 of 13 for the game, right? So there's been sometimes we've asked him to, carry the team with his arm and his shoulder, but there's other times where you have to run the ball just to own that time of possession and keep our defense, fresh and healthy. But I'm sure they've used the quick screen a couple times in place of it, maybe a draw here or there. But it's the kind of the style, like Charbonnet is the hammer, right? He can do everything, but you get him going downhill, there's not a lot of people that want to step in front of that. And then K9, you get him on the edge and you get him out in space to work, Like there's not many that can, take him down. Like one guy one-on-one, that's a matchup in our favor. So we'll see, whether it's the style they use them each in terms of run plays, or just maybe even I would love to see them, go back to like polars, like counters and powers. And when you get the big guys moving, that's when, creates separation and waves in terms of working up that second level. So we'll see what happens.
I think you'd appreciate this as a guy that tries to defend someone like Stafford. Stafford has been Jedi assassin, like crazy against the blitz. I think he's thrown, what is it, Ty? Like 6 touchdowns. The last 6 touchdowns have been against the blitz.
Yeah.
And he has just been, and we talked about it. We're here right now at Rams HQ, and we just asked him, is it that he reads the defense? How is he so good at improvising? And obviously it just goes with his experience and the fact that, he's a veteran, been doing this for 17 years. A couple of questions. When you are the Seahawks defense, how do you, if Stafford's really unflappable, what's the strategy there? And then conversely, how do you see the Seahawks? Where are they do you see Sean McVay trying to exploit the Seahawks?
Great questions. First one, you got to take away the run, and you got to be able to do it with a light count in the box, like seven man, if which I Bleav, and I have a lot of, tremendous amount of respect for Kyron Williams. He's one of my favorite running backs to watch, can do it all. But, you got to make him beat you. Because you don't want the ball in Stafford's here. What is he, like 20 touchdowns and like 2 picks? Like, it's ridiculous.
25.
20, my bad.
25. Leads the league. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. And I mean, it's incredible, right? And, he's not young, but he's tough. And he's got incredible vision. And, he's played a lot of snaps. So, there's only so many different variations of blitzes you can, run. It's just, but the one thing that really does work in our favor is we've been overpowering offensive lines. Like, I mean, Demarcus Lawrence looks amazing, right? Big Cat, Leonard, he's one of the best athletes I've ever seen. Murph is coming to his own. It does hurt that we won't have Jay Reed. I don't Bleav he'll make it to this one. He's kind of our, emotional leader out there. Just, he's the OG, so to speak. But yeah, you go up and down that line, we're like 4 or 5 across, and then there's a whole another platoon, like 2 deep. And then you get to the edges, Chenna, Mafe, Derek Hall, like it is stacked. And so that's why we get to see our linebackers they're fast, they're tough, they're physical, very instinctive. I Bleav you guys know one of them hopefully makes it to this game, Ernest Jones. Thank you for giving him
I know. I mean, we did okay with the free agency, right, Ty? You're pretty happy. Yeah. We've got a guy by the name of Nate Landman. What does he have? 3 forced fumbles. We've got you're very happy about the Puna Ford edition. I mean, you're right. You're right about that, but it's like, I don't know. We're picking up what they're putting down. Ty, how do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, I feel as though as a whole defensively, if I'm going to be objective, I feel like the Seahawks are the best unit as a whole when you count their secondary and their linebackers and up front. But if I'm just counting defensive line, then the Rams have the advantage when you look at a Verse, you look at Puna Ford, a Braden Fisk, and a Young. I mean, those guys, you can make a case that those are all Pro Bowler level players along the defensive line. Seattle does not boast that. However, as a whole and as a unit, with McDonald calling the plays, I do Bleav the Seahawks are the better defensive unit. But that begs the question. Lofa, I want you to get your objective hat on. I know you got a hat on. So who has the biggest advantage? The Seahawks secondary versus the Rams receiving corps, or the Seahawks receiving corps versus the Rams secondary? What's the biggest advantage?
I really see this as
Ooh.
a toss-up because
A toss.
it's been, yeah, I don't see really anybody just, running away with this one in terms of now obviously you got two number ones outside, right? With Puka and Devontae. But I do you guys know that JSN has like 200 more yards than the next closest receiver, and he's only got 62 receptions? Like, he's on pace to beat Megatron's record. And I don't, let that sink in for a second. And I know you got two, we only got one, but then we got a man by the name of Cooper Kupp, right? I'm looking forward to a vengeance game coming from him right now,
We
right?
know him well.
Yeah. And honestly, like, as we lost DK and Lockett, they moved on. And so to see JSN do what he's doing as the sole number one is very impressive, right? Those opportunities are finally coming his way. He's making the most of them. He's one of the most gifted receivers I've ever seen. And spatial awareness, tracking of the ball, going up and getting it, attacking it, and then he looks fully healthy because I know he left Ohio State with that hamstring injury, and I could tell it was probably bothering him for the first year or so, but now he's pulling away from people. And then I don't know if Horton's going to make it, but that was my favorite draft pick, fifth rounder from Colorado State. He probably only went fifth round because he tore his ACL a year ago, and like he is special. And then the tight ends. So we have a multitude of weapons to catch the ball. We got Barner and Arroyo. So I am not familiar with, and I'm not trying to give bulletin board material, so I'm go blasting this over the airwaves. Not really familiar with your secondary, but I know that the strength of our defensive line has allowed us to fill in for Witherspoon, Julian Love, who's a captain and a guy we count on for communication. We've had, Kobe Bryant back there, Ty Okada, who's been playing his ass off, undrafted free agent, second year, but Josh Jobe, like he's been in and out of the lineup. Spoon's been in and out of the lineup. We've just been mixing and matching, and we haven't missed a beat. Scored 2 defensive touchdowns. It looked like identical plays by DeMarcus Lawrence and Tyrese Knight. So I don't know who has I know it's a very long-winded answer there, but I don't know who has the advantage.
Basically, got it. Tyler, you seem like you had an answer, so why don't you go ahead and share your thoughts?
Lofa pretty much answered for me because he said the Rams have 2 number ones and Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, and then the Seahawks have a 1 number one in Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I feel like the Rams have the advantage on the outside, and I'm not just saying that because it's the Bleav in Ram podcast. I mean, Devontae Adams leads the league in receiving touchdowns. Puka Nacua, if he was healthy this whole season, you can make a case that he will be leading the league in receiving yards and receptions right now. So I do Bleav, and then I didn't even mention Stafford leads the NFL in touchdown passes. So when you factor all that in, and Stafford's throwing the football, then advantage LA Rams. However, I do think defensively, though, the Seahawks pose the toughest test versus the other side of the football when I look at the Rams defense because of what the Seahawks can do collectively as a unit. And mind you, they have a defensive-minded head coach that's been calling plays pretty well and been in charge of that defense and has done a fine job in Seattle thus far.
Yeah. It's so interesting, too, real quick. I did want to ask this question to you, Lofa. On FanDuel Sportsbook, the Rams are favored at home by 3. Does that feel like a fair assessment? You think it's, he does a face, guys. He does a face. What does that mean?
Favored?
Favored by 3. I mean, they're at home.
We played better on the road.
I mean, you can't argue that. However, I feel like a 3-point spread for the home team. That's pretty much even when you look at betting. When you look at betting odds.
That's how I feel.
This game is a pick 'em. I will say the Rams should be slightly favored because they're at home. I imagine if this game were in Seattle, the Seahawks would be about a 3-point favorite as well. So I think that's fair. I think that's
Always Tyler, the voice of reason on this show.
I got to be objective.
Always.
You are. Yeah. Divisional games are tough, right? I mean, you saw just what happened to Buffalo and Miami. Everybody thought that was going to be easy. Mm-mm.
Does this feel like for you, Tyler? Because, for us, Lofa, we've had 2 losses, right? We lost to the Niners week 5, and then I think week 3, we ended up, we lost to the Eagles. And we didn't get burned by Saquon. That problem, it wasn't the run defense.
That was a win.
It really was. I mean, it was it was the special teams. And since then, they've auditioned kickers, and now they have a new guy, and he didn't seem to have problems last week. So it's like all things are lining up the right way. Does it feel like for you guys that this feels like for both teams, respective teams, the biggest test? Because the reason why I ask this is the last few games, Lofa, we had the Saints, the Jags, and then before that, a Ravens team without Lamar, so that was when we were starting, the Rams really starting to get like their wheels greased, and they were kind of like starting to show form. But I kept saying, hey guys, let's pump the brakes, because we don't really know how good this team is, because of maybe the opposition isn't a type Seattle team. Does this feel like for both you guys the biggest sort of like this will be the reflection of who these 2 teams really are?
I absolutely think this is, kind of the litmus test of just like where they're at and are we really contenders? I look for a close game just because like I know the guys are gonna be excited. First of all, who's playing Sunday night? This should be flexed to the Sunday night game.
I know.
It's the Eagles, and isn't it the Eagles and Lions?
Who cares about that game?
Again, I got to be the voice of reason now. That's a pretty big game.
Both these teams would beat those guys. We are, because
we basically beat them week 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
3 teams are coming out of the West.
Do I have to be the voice of reason in this podcast? Is the Eagles
you got to reel us in.
We're children here. We are children. We cannot be taken seriously. No, but it's true. I agree with you. I think, first of all, look, the other thing that we needed to talk about, we needed to spill the tea on Cooper Kupp, because that was the other thing that was brought up at the presser today with Stafford. Hey, you're going up against Cooper. P.S. By the way, it's like he moved on to like the cuter, funnier, more success. I'm just saying, like, it's not easy to beat Cooper because of seeing Devontae do. And all that to say, now he's got to go back to LA, see his ex, and hopefully have a good game. How are you, spill the tea on Coop. How's he doing over there?
I don't know if you've seen him, but he looks amazing. He grew his hair out just to make you guys jealous, right?
He's happy.
He's coming back better looking, stronger, right? And I look forward to this matchup. But I mean, just the wisdom that I guarantee you it's brought so much to the entire offense, not just the receiving core. I'm talking to Sam, even Kubiak. I'm sure he's picked his brain for a couple things. And but yeah, like the young guys like Horton and all these guys, they're making great strides, and they're contributing right away, which is rare for a 5th round. And then some of these other rookies, Arroyo, just to jump in seamlessly. And I gotta imagine that's because of his leadership and just everything just like as great as Puka is, does he do it as quickly without Stafford and Kupp right there with him? 2 years ago when he was a rookie. Like I don't know. I mean,
wow. Did you just hear that? He's given Cooper, Puka? Okay.
I'll give Lofa. I think he's right on that. I mean, Puka has even said he's learned from Cooper Kupp and his route running ability and everything. However, I will say I'll disagree with you on this side. I think it's a win-win for both Cooper Kupp and the LA Rams. I mean, if we're being honest, Cooper Kupp is a little bit past his prime. He's not the receiver Triple Crown winner that he once was. He's not as fast anymore. He doesn't get in and out of his breaks as crisp anymore. And then Davante Adams, I mean, he's a Hall of Fame receiver, and he's pretty much been better than Cooper Kupp throughout his career. He just hasn't had the Super Bowl and the, individual awards that Cooper Kupp has had. But, mean, Devontae Adams is leading the league in touchdown passes and on the way to being a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro receiver this year. So I do think both sides are happy. Cooper Kupp is back home in the Washington area, so he could perhaps end his career in Seattle. So both sides should be happy with where they ended up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, I love a good comeback story. I will tell that. I think, and by the way, the people here in this building are so fond of Cooper and what he did. And that was just a tough decision to make, to move on from a guy that was beloved by this fan base. And you're absolutely right. He leads in such a way as an example. And Stafford said today he is a lifelong best friend to Stafford and what he means to him and his family. So you can tell those two guys are have absolute respect for each other. And that's why, these storylines, we, the media, hype it up. But really, at the end of the day, it's just a game. They're showing up. They're just putting their uniform on. And, hopefully no one takes anything too personally. But, look, it is what it is. And we do miss Cooper, but it's been a crazy ride with what has happened this season, especially, if you take a look at the fact that Stafford didn't even take a snap during training camp, and we didn't know if he was going to be in a game with this back situation. So, because he had a back situation.
I could have called it. I knew he wasn't missing any time. He was just farving it. No camp for me, everybody. I'll be there when it counts. I'm just throw 500 touchdown passes. Hopefully, win the MVP. I know what he was thinking. It's smart. He's playing chess, not checkers.
See, this is why we have Lofa on the show.
Yeah.
He calls it like he sees it. Balls and strikes from Lofa. Well, gentlemen, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. It was great to learn a little bit more about the enemy in the Seattle Seahawks with Lofa Tatupu. How can people find you and also tune into your podcast? Because you've got a pretty awesome one yourself, sir.
Yes, if you like the Seahawks, which maybe some of you do, I don't know. We got all day podcast. We talk football too, though. We do, kind of around the league every week after the game. It's on YouTube at 4:00 when the Hawks play at regular time, and then if it's a primetime game, we'll jump on right after the game. But yeah, and then just social media, just Lofa Tatupu. I'm not very exciting there. I just throw my name in there. I got to come up with a better nickname. You guys got to give me a nickname. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, we'll source some good answers from our fan base. Well, great to chat with you, and we will see you Sunday. Hopefully